Okay, shall we start for today? Van, are you okay? Shall we start?
Well, yes, of course.
Okay, well, so let me welcome everybody as the director of T-HAP, which is the company, the organization which has organized these infusion workshops. Today we are meeting for the fifth workshop, the last one before the summer break. Let me share with you about T-HAP 2 information. T-HAP is a consulting and training company located in Cyprus, but it's rather an umbrella of professionals, as you can see from the logo of the company, an umbrella of professionals who collaborate doing consulting, training, counseling under one of the main and long-lasting theme, especially in the European Union, which is the well-being of people, of communities, and of individual and professionals. So this is mainly what we do. We work very much on delivering training courses on site, online, hybrid. We do consulting for SMEs and non-for-profit organization. We work very much on European projects, not only in writing and deliver, but also in supporting other organizations to join. As of us, we prefer being involved in projects which obviously relate to the well-being of people and whatever is a corollary of this topic. And this is why we have organized this series of workshops, because we would like to focus very much on the innovation of education. And the topics we have gone through were all focused on aspects related to education, training, learning, lifelong learning, and pointing out especially innovative aspects and innovative challenges, as well as topics which are pumping up in our situation. I would say the topic of today, which Vana Karagian is going to present to us and putting it sort of in a dialogue perspective, refers to the LifeComp, the competences for life, which the European Union has already issued now for a few years. The subtitle of these life competencies, when they were brought up to surface, was a European framework for better lives in our uncertain world. And as much as I remember when this was presented, COVID was not yet an issue. So you can imagine how uncertain the world is now after the COVID experience. Vana will tell us something. I would like just to quickly introduce Vana besides what you have read, and I would just want to point out what she likes to be defined as a human capital manager advisor. She actually considers herself as an architect of a human being, as an architect of capital of people. People have a capital, and she, as a coach, as a trainer, as a developer of management methodologies, is addressing exactly what LifeComp is all about. And that's why we invited her today to present us the life skills and to bring us also her experience. I leave Vana the floor, just reminding you at the end, before the conclusion, we will have also a small survey, so please address the survey so we will make our workshops even better, and so also to tailor and to organize topics for the next year as of September. Vana, yours is the floor. Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Thank you, and T-HAP also for the invitation, and thank you all of you for your time and for your patience. It's not, we will try just to have a basic presentation of the competencies in order to have the framework, the basics of the framework, and in order to discuss and to understand the LifeComp and the life competencies that the European Union established and recommend some years ago. We will tell many things. We will start from the story behind the LifeComp and how the story went at the beginning and why we are talking about special competencies for life. And then we will have the opportunity to see not only the model that the LifeComp is based, but also the 9 competencies that after research, we believe that they are very, very strong and very important for us in order to develop and to be succeed in our future. My experience, it's also in human resources, both in human resources, but also in the European Union's project. That's why LifeComp is one of the presentations that I really liked and enjoy to share and have the opportunity like this. It's something new, although it's we will talk about the time, the date that we had in our hands, which was some like 4 or 5 years ago. It's already new because not many organizations have already developed many things about that, but each of us, we will see and we will hear things that are attached to our life, are attached to our success, and are attached to our progress as human beings, as citizens, as professionals, and we will have the opportunity to have more ideas about that. So let's begin in order not to lose any time. As I told you at the very beginning, let's see what is the story behind the LifeComp. According to Council of the European Union, everyone has the right to quality and inclusive education in Europe. This is how the story starts. The key competences for lifelong learning, it was the beginning of the LifeComp. We will excuse me because I'm stopped sharing in order to share the video, and I will give you an idea of the story. Let me share it with you.
I think something is wrong with the volume. We don't hear very well, Vanna. Before it was okay when we made the test. Sorry, Vanna.
Alessandro, do you...
I didn't hear anything. I don't know if the other people heard the video.
We didn't hear the video. Did you see the video?
I saw the video, but I didn't hear the video.
I was not able to hear anything.
Okay, I will put it. It's only 1 minute. Just give me 1 second.
Before, when we did the trial, the test before the beginning, it was perfect.
Don't worry, it will be perfect now again. It's on us. Now?
By 2025, almost half of all jobs in Europe will need highly skilled workers. In the future, people will also need some level of digital skills for 90% of all jobs. The lack of basic skills in Europe is striking. 1 in 5 Europeans struggle to read and write. 1 in 4 Europeans have poor numeracy skills, and 40% have no digital skills. And 1 in 5 Europeans lack a high school qualification. The skills mismatch shows that Europe isn't making the best of people's talents. 40% of European employers cannot find employees with the right skills, and 30% of people work in jobs that don't match their qualification. Globalization and technology is fast changing the way people learn new skills, but their qualifications lag behind. The new skills agenda for Europe will help equip Europeans with more and better skills by investing in people's basic and higher skills, by better connecting the world of business and education, by recognizing skills learned outside of school. Europe, making the best of people's talents.
Did you see that? Perfect. So we are trying to understand how everything started. Let me share my screen again. And here is the key competences for lifelong learning, which is one step behind LifeComp. More specific, the Council of the European Union in May 2018 adopted a recommendation on key competencies for lifelong learning. According to Council, everyone has the right to quality and inclusive education, as we said before, training and lifelong learning in order to maintain and acquire skills that enable them to participate fully in society and manage successfully transitions in the labor market. Everyone has the right to timely and tailor-made assistance to improve employment or self-employment prospects. This includes the right to receive support for job search, for training, and of course, for requalification. The recommendation identifies 8 key competencies that, of course, we will analyze further, essential to citizens for personal fulfillment, for a healthy and sustainable lifestyle, for employability, for active citizenship, and social inclusion. The key competencies are a combination of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Knowledge that is composed of the concepts, of the facts and the figures, of the ideas and the theories, which are already established, of course, and support the understanding of a certain area or of a certain subject. Skills are defined as the ability to carry out processes and use the existing knowledge to achieve some results. And attitudes, of course, describe the disposition and the mindset to act or to react to ideas or to persons or to situations. The key competencies are developed throughout life through either formal or non-formal and, of course, or informal learning in different environments, including family, school, workplaces, neighborhood, and of course other communities. All key competencies are considered equally important, and aspects essential to one domain will support competence development in another. For example, skills such as, for example, critical thinking or problem solving or teamwork or many common competencies, communication, creativity, negotiation, analytical and intercultural skills are all of them and many more embedded throughout all the key competencies. The 8 competencies are literacy competence, multilingual competence, mathematical competence, and competence in science, technology, engineering, digital competence, citizenship competence, entrepreneurship competence, cultural awareness and expression, and of course, personal, social, and learning to learn, in other words, LifeComp. So the personal, the 8th competence, It's the theme, the subject of our presentation. We will focus to one of these competencies, the LifeComp, that it's the European framework for better lives in our uncertain world. And the workshop is based to this life competencies framework of personal, social, and learning to learn. It is addressed to educators, students, but if I could say to all kind of learners. It aims to introduce lifelong learning tools for improving personal and social competencies. And of course, it will give you a better understanding of the framework and the relevant skills which are included. Let's hear the story of Mrs. Chuck. Here, we will see the example of Mrs. Chuck, who is a teacher. For those of you that you are not teachers, you are not educators, or you are not trainers, just replace Mrs. Chuck with you instead. It doesn't matter which is your profession, because today we will talk about life competencies. So I'm stop sharing. I will do in a better way than the other video in order to share the video itself. Let me share it with you. Okay.
Story of Ms. Chalk, the teacher, and the importance of life competences. Ms. Chalk was a good teacher. She went to work every day, greeting her colleagues every day, teaching her students every day. But the world around her was changing so fast that Ms. Chalk was just starting to find it difficult to keep up with. Then one day, a strange little creature popped up. He huffed and puffed until he swallowed the world. And all of a sudden, Ms. Chalk's life was not the same anymore. She was dazed and confused and didn't know what to do to feel better. But looking around herself, she realized she was not the only one. Also, her students were feeling frustrated and upset. To deal with these unexpected challenges, she realized that traditional technical and cognitive skills were not enough anymore. They needed different kind of skills. Yes, but which ones? She needed to find an answer to this question, so she wandered outside her classroom in search for solutions. Looking into other teachers' classrooms, she noticed that other colleagues had found interesting ways to teach their students. And they were learning different things. How to take care of their well-being, how to solve problems together, how to manage their own learning independently. They all seemed engaged and having a good time. So she thought to herself, I want to learn how to teach like that. Then Miss Chalk noticed a bunch of colleagues in front of a whiteboard. They were discussing competences, such as flexibility, empathy, critical thinking, and how to help their students acquire them. The more she listened, the more she learned. And the more she learned, the stronger she felt. At the end of the session, all teachers returned to their classrooms with extra spring in their footsteps, keen to share these social and emotional skills with their students. Ms. Chalk welcomed her students back to class, some in person, some in their digital selves. She started teaching them all the useful things that she had just learned, working together and interacting like they had never done before. Then Ms. Chalk had an idea. She gave each student a little plant to take care of. Think of this as your learning path, she said. Nurture it every day and you'll enjoy long-lasting rewards. Spring came and the students took their plants to the school courtyard. They planted them in soil, watered them, and the plants grew into beautiful trees that offered the whole community a safe playground to play in. They grew stronger together. Much like these trees, LifeComp provides the opportunity to develop your students' personal, social, and learning to learn competences and improve schools' community resilience to face the challenges of the 21st century.
So it's all about life planting. So we will talk about how we are going and how we can develop our plans, our life learning plans, in order to understand how we can progress, how can we develop ourselves. Although we saw the example of Mrs. Chalk, which was a teacher, I'm sure that many of you can understand that this is something that already it's about us. It doesn't matter about the profession or the idea. The whole world is changing, and how we need to adapt all these changes and not develop ourselves in another way. So let me share again my screen, and sorry for these changes. Okay, do you everybody see my screen? Perfect. And let's go and deep dive in LifeComp. LifeComp, it's very important, but why it's important? For any students, that me as person, I believe that I'm always a student. And what about us of other professions? For the students, the social emotional competencies boost the academic success and give increased chances to get a job satisfaction, to get financial stability, and of course, to get a better health and well-being. Today's students are likely to work with tools that do not exist yet. It's something very, very strange. Having a growth mindset, being a critical thinker, and being able to manage one's own learning is key to thriving in a rapidly changing world. What about you? The cultivating LifeComp competencies will help us innovate through learner-centered pedagogies. And of course, it will help us to live and work in times of rapid technological innovation, either automation or artificial intelligence. And with LifeComp can help us enhance the human skills that we need for the future. LifeComp has to do with the rapidly changing societies. Citizens need to develop competencies which allow them to successfully manage the challenges posed by the many transitions taking place, not only in our life, but in our work, in their personal spheres, and of course, in society. The LifeComp framework is a flexible tool. We will see that we have many competencies and many options and many types of combinations. I'm reading here that can be adapted to different learning settings and of course different target groups. We saw the example of Mrs. Charles, that she is a trainer, but we can see it in our lives, in everyday life. Let's have the overview of the LifeComp. LifeComp is made up of 3 intertwined competence areas: the personal one, the social, and of course the third one, which is the learning to learn. Each area includes 3 competencies. Let's go to the personal area. So we talk about self-regulation, we talk about flexibility, and we talk about well-being. And Alessandro, I can understand that I have an error here. Sorry for that, about the well-being.
No problem, no problem.
I see now.
We are well anyway, so.
Okay. About the social one, which is the second one, we talk about empathy, we talk about communication, and we talk about collaboration. And of course, everyone can, I think that it's not only the 3 of them, but as I said at the very beginning, many other skills are embedded to these skills, to these 9 skills. And the third one, about the learning to learn, it's the growth mindset, the critical thinking, and the managing learning. Let's see the model, how it is developed and where it is based. Each competence has in turn 3 descriptors. which generally correspond to the awareness, to the understanding, and to the action model. So in every competence, we have the understanding of the awareness, how we need what we need to develop in order to be aware of, in order to understand, and how we can act. These are not to be understood as hierarchy of different levels of relevance, whereby some are prerequisites for others. Rather, all of them are top considered complementary and, of course, necessary. Let's go to the personal area. When we talk about self-regulation, we are meaning that the awareness and management of our emotions, of our thoughts, and our behavior. Any examples of these skills? In other words, we can identify our personal strengths as a summary. When we talk about flexibility, we mean any examples of skills that are connected, that they are connected with the ability to manage transitions and uncertainty and to face challenges. In other words, to be open-minded. And of course, the well-being, which is the pursuit of life satisfaction, the care of physical, mental, and social health, and of course, the adaptation of a sustainable lifestyle. In other words, how we can promote our well-being, including our health and physical health and social health. Let us analyze it with the model that we said, the knowledge, the communication, and how we can communicate and how we can act. First, when we say about self-regulation, the first thing in order to be aware of is the awareness and expression of personal emotions, our personal thoughts, our personal values, and our personal behavior. Self-awareness is fundamental for self-regulation since it allows identifying promptly unwanted responses, making it easier to prevent and control, of course, undesired outcomes. As far as understanding and regulating personal emotions, thoughts, and behavior, including stress responses, the deployment of strategies, all the strategies that we have in order to attend and regulate our emotions can help achieve better performance in personal, educational, and of course, professional settings. And as an action, it's the idea of nurturing optimism to nurture hope, resilience, self-efficacy, and a sense of purpose to support learning and action. It's the sense of personal purpose that enhances the motivation to actively pursue long-term goals. About flexibility, which is the second competence, and the awareness model, it's the readiness to review opinions and courses of action in the face of new evidence. It's the intellectual, let's say, interest and curiosity that is needed to be able to explore new situations with openness, to be open. So to are the capacities to negotiate and, of course, to weigh up different points of view. About understanding of flexibility, it's the understanding and adopting new ideas, the way that we adapt new approaches and new tools, and of course, to adapt new actions in response to changing contexts. Being flexible means having an attitude of openness to novel ideas, to novel tools, or to new ways of doing things in order to being able to deal with uncertainty. And of course, as an action for flexibility, it's a managing transition in personal life, in social participation, to work and learning pathways while making conscious choices and setting goals. It's about goal setting, the ability to proactively look for new opportunities, for example, or to learn continuously, or to understand and adapt to every change that we confront. And of course, in order to represent a competitive edge for citizens. And the third competence, which is the well-being, when we talk about the awareness, we mean the awareness that individual behavior, that some personal characteristics and social and environment factors can influence either health or well-being. Individuals need to be aware of the impact that many different factors may have on our personal health, on our personal well-being, and of course, our life satisfaction. As far as the understanding is how understanding potential risks for our well-being and using reliable information, because we are bombarding from many information and services for health and social protection. All of us need to understand the dangers of trusting and sharing false information on health, since it may undermine medical advice, and of course, can understand or can adopt harmful therapies or cause unjustified alarms. As an action, LifeComp, it stresses out the adoption of a sustainable lifestyle that respects the environment and of course the physical and mental well-being of ourselves, of course, and of the others, while seeking and offering social support. By adopting a systemic approach, need to consider the dependence of one's own and others' health, and of course, the well-being, as well as safeguarding healthy environments, not outside of our environment, but also in our house too. Let's go to see the social area. Being socially competent, what does it mean? Means that we are cultivating an attitude of collaboration, of respecting human diversity, of overcoming prejudice and compromising while participating in society. So we talk about empathy, the understanding of another person's emotions, experience and values, and the provision of appropriate responses. An example is the summary is building relationship. So the empathy can help us to build the relationships that we need in order to be developed further. The second one is the communication, that it's the use of relevant communication strategies, domain-specific codes and tools, of course, and depending on the context and the content. As an example, we could say that just listen and engage, not only the people that you are addressed to, but all the people that you have all around, and listen to them. Try to listen. And when we talk about collaboration, we mean engagement in group activity and teamwork, acknowledge and respecting others. As an example, or as a summary, I could say, it could be observe, analyze, and deal with difficult situations in order to collaborate. So the source of the social area, it's empathy, communication, and collaboration, but in these three competencies are embedded many more skills. Let's deep dive the analysis through the model of awareness, of understanding, and action. Let's go to the empathy first. So the awareness of another person's emotions, experience, and values. Here we need to understand that acquiring abilities to read non-verbal cues, like the tone of the voice or the gestures, and of course the facial expressions, is the key for developing empathy. So try to observe. Individuals need to learn modulate their messages. We need to take into account the audience, the kind of relationship with the speaker, the context in which the communication can take place, or its purpose, or the tools that will convey the message. This is why all these people that we deal with training and presentation and things like that, we understand that the remote presentation, it's very, very difficult because you don't have the scale of empathy that you would like to have, like in a physical communication and interaction. When we say about the empathy and the understanding way of empathy, it's the understanding another person's emotions and experiences and the ability to proactively take their perspective. We need to train our own, the self-awareness and the self-empathy in order to enhance our ability to understand others and to reduce personal distress when confronted with other feelings. For us, for all of us, to engage in communication in multicultural settings, we need to develop an attitude of openness and, of course, respect for the other, for the culture of the others. And as an action, LifeComp addresses that is the responsiveness to another person's emotion and experiences, being conscious that a group belonging influences one's attitude. The educational interventions are aiming at increasing the ability of perspective taking and develop self-awareness and provide positive experience of others' help in developing empathy. So how we can address and how we can develop the empathy that we saw. And last but not least, of course, the communication. About the second one, the communication, it's the awareness of the need for a variety of communication strategy. We talk about language registers and tools that are adapted to context and content. Here, we need to learn modulate our messages. We need to take into account our audience, the kind of relationship with the speaker, the context in which the communication takes place, its purpose, and the tools that will convey the message. Sorry, I confused it. I'm very, very sorry for that. But I see the second one. Sorry, let's go to the collaboration because we talk about communication. And the collaboration, when we need here the intentions, I'm very sorry, here the intention to contribute to the common good. So we talk about common good. The awareness that others may have different cultural affiliations, backgrounds, beliefs, values, opinions, or personal circumstances. Here, we can say that individuals, all of us, we need to learn not only to cope with diversity, but also to take advantage from collaborating and creating synergies between us. As far as understanding and collaboration, we need to understand the importance of trust. Here, the whole meaning is about trust, about respect for human dignity and equality, and of course, about coping with conflicts and negotiating disagreements to build and sustain fair and respectful relationships. In order to cope with conflicts, all of us, we need to learn how to gather and, of course, exchange information to identify and underline problems, to try to find and look for alternatives, and to evaluate every implication of the alternatives and to be open about another person's preference or selection. And of course, when we talk about the action and collaboration, we need to fair sharing of tasks, so to distribute the task fairly, the resources, the responsibility, especially within a group, and take into account its aim. So the goal that we need to do that. Eliciting the expression of different views and adopting a systematic approach. Here, we need to understand that the greater the capacity of a group members and understanding of each other feelings and perspectives, the greater the group's collective intelligence and, of course, the capacity to successfully accomplish many different and difficult tasks will be. And of course, we need to understand the learning to learn area. The learning to learn is a competence that can be acquired throughout the lifespan. It is a relevant driver for change either in adulthood or earlier, promoting employability and, of course, competitiveness. 3 skills, 3 competencies we need to understand here. First of all, is the growth mindset. And when we talk about growth mindset, in not many words, we say that it's the belief in one's and others' potential to continuously learn and progress. We can give some examples here in order to understand in simple words the motivation, for example, that we need to keep up. Either being motivated or keep being motivated. And of course, to engage with new knowledge in order to be alert for the new learning. The second competence is the critical thinking, which is the assessment of information and arguments to support reasoned conclusions and develop innovative solutions. As specific and in more simple words, we could say that challenge assumptions, using imagination to explore the world, and of course, create something very, very new. This is the idea of critical thinking. And the third one and the last one of the learning to learn area is the managing the learning. When we talk about the managing learning, we are talking about planning, organizing, monitoring, and reviewing of one's own learning. In other words, in simple words, we could say that plan, organize, review, and improve learning, always. And of course, do not forget that learning happens all around us, and we need to see everything as an opportunity to learn. Let's analyze the 3 competencies in the model of the awareness of understanding and the action. If we start in order to understand the growth mindset, we could say that awareness, what is growth mindset and awareness? It's awareness of confidence in one's own and others' ability to learn, improve and achieve with work, and of course, dedication. Educators, trainers, teachers, and all kinds of learners, we need to value the process of learning. We need to value the variety of the strategies employed. We need to value the learning progress and, of course, our effort. As idea of understanding the growth mindset, it's the understanding that learning is a lifelong process that requires openness. We hear a lot of openness. So we need to be open. Openness, curiosity, and of course, determination. Learning throughout the lifespan requires an attitude of willingness from the very beginning. And of course, what else? Openness. Openness to learn from each interaction and from any experience that we confront. And the action in order to understand and develop further the growth mindset, it's reflecting on other people's feedback. So feedback plays critical role here, as well as on successful and unsuccessful experiences to continue developing our own potential. So we need to deal with any setback, with any failure, and of course, any negative feedback, and try to learn from it. This will enable us to move forward and to be more effective. In order to understand and analyze critical thinking, and of course to develop, so that's why we have the third column with the actions, in order to be aware is to need to be aware of potential biases in the data and a person's personal limitations while collecting valid and reliable information and ideas from diverse and reputable sources. Here, every one of us, we need to be aware of the possibility of dealing with misinformation. And of course, we need to be willing to check a piece of information and to evaluate the credibility of any source or of any kind of information that we gather. As understanding of the critical thinking, we need to compare, analyze, to assess and synthesize the data, the information, the ideas, the media messages, in order to draw some logical conclusions. Deploying the critical thinking requires testing the robust of any arguments and thoughts in order to identify possible biases. That's why we are trying to understand, and lately it's more and more discussed about biases and by diverse ideas and diverse opinions in order to understand and have a more critical thinking on that without taking anything for granted. As far as the actions that we could do, it's the idea of develop creative ideas. We need to find some tools. There are a lot of seminars with creative techniques in order to synthesize and combine concepts and information from different sources in view of solving any problem. Creativity can give to all of us the opportunity to question the assumptions, to reevaluate the problems that we confront every day, to consider different variables and to take sensible risks. In order to being persistent, must try to be more collaborative and disciplined in order to sustain creativity. And of course, the third competence, which is the managing learning, we need to understand, to be aware of one's learning interests, processes, preferred strategies, including learning needs and required support. All of us, any kind of learner, need to be aware of own learning dispositions and of course, what we prefer as learning strategy, but also of our attitudes and our values. We need to take it into consideration. In order to understand more about the managing learning, we need to plan and implement learning goals strategies, of course, various resources, and in new or innovative processes to monitor a learning activity. Any kind of learner, all of us, we need to be aware of the comprehension and performance while we do execute the learning task. So while we do something, we need to understand which is the performance that we have. In order to have and of course persevere in a successful learning strategy or to modify is not only working, but to comprehend what we are doing. And last but not least is the action. So how we can develop the managing learning? We can reflect and assess purposes, on processes that we are accustomed to do. Already they are old ones. And of course, the outcomes of learning and knowledge, any new knowledge, in order to, and we can establish a relationship across any domain. As learners, we can improve if we try to our comprehension of the learning processes, and in order to recognize the learning activities in different domains that where we can find some similar, some common things. Therefore, we can adapt same strategies that can be transferred from one to another. And of course, we can apply to different areas. For example, if we do have a strategy in order to manage our learning in our professional area or in the educational area, then we can adapt it to our house, to organize the house, or to understand from our experience. We can adapt same methodologies and same strategies. But before everything, we need to remember, apart from any LifeComp, apart from any competence, we need to create one step at our mind and one goal. We need to understand that each new day is a new opportunity to improve ourselves. We need to take it every day. We are full of frustrations, we are full of information, misinformation, and things that we can handle or we cannot handle. Let's go to the new day and take it as an opportunity to understand, to manage, to be more open, to be more analytical about what happened, and take the most of it in order to be a better person, a better citizenship, a better professional. I'm open, Alessandro, and to all the participants for any questions, any clarifications, because it's too heavy for this hour now. So I'm waiting for any response.
Okay, in the meanwhile, thank you, Vanna, for this thorough and I would say even quite complex picture of the LifeComp. My need, and I say this so to allow time for other people to come up with questions eventually. My need during your presentation was to find a summary element of all these three big clusters of competencies you have mentioned, and exactly the word you just used was my synthesis: the openness. I think we could, at least this could be an effort, one could summarize the description of all these competencies with the one which we could call openness, being open, being welcoming, which then means listening, which then means empathy, which then means critical sense, developing a critical sense. So personally, I wanted, at least for me, to have an element which could sort of describe all these competencies, and I found openness, being open with all what it means, as a synthetic paradigm?
It's the truth is when I first try to analyze the LifeComp and try to find some elements in order to develop either tools or courses in order to develop the competencies, for us it's complex too. So this is the truth, because we are in the beginning, because we are confused with all the skills that we need in order to go further and develop ourselves further. But the idea of the LifeComp is to put a basis, just a basis, in order to start investigating about these competencies. And from my perspective, I'm trying to do only 3 things at the time. 3 things in a scale, in a period of time. For example, each person can understand and can create the learning journey. But for me, 3 things in 6 months, it's the best thing that I can. So in order to understand all the competencies and to develop, for me, and from my experience as a trainer, you need at least 6 months to develop, to try to develop or start developing just the 3 of them, or even the 2 of them. And some people, they will start with 1 of them. But as at the beginning said, many skills are embedded to these competencies. So if we try, for example, a person try to develop flexibility, will develop many more skills that are attached to the other ones. So it's not that narrow. Of course, we need to have something narrow in order to have an organized framework and to organize our mind, but it's not that narrow. Every skill hides a lot of them inside. So this is the idea.
Good. So let's open to see if there are questions among the audience. Here there is one. When it comes to teaching and developing life skills, what are some effective strategies or approaches that educators can employ to ensure that these skills are nurtured and reinforced in young individuals from an early age?
Perfect. Can I share my screen once again? Because it's something that I would like to share with the audience, of course.
Okay, please.
Just give me 1 second to have it. Oh, very sorry, but sometimes doesn't help me. But I will do it right now. Sorry for the late response, but I will give you many information exactly for that question. I just close it, that's why. And I'm here. Here. Okay, perfect. I'm sharing now. Do you see my screen now?
It's opening. Yes, now I see. Yes, we see.
Okay. Do you see the LifeComp into action?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. European Union really develops many good tools. And here it's the LifeComp into action. So here they gathered, it's not something that it's already developed and you can find many more actions. But here you can find some basic action teaching life skills in the classroom. And of course you can use it beyond because you can adapt it. This is a publication. Let me run through it here in the index, where you can find the general principles that you need to have in your classroom in order to develop LifeComp. So you need to develop the trust among the group. You need to have a strong community. You need to be more learn-centered and how you can reflect the information and how you can adapt the whole school approach. Here you have many information of how you can do that. It's more practical guide. And of course, here you have about all these skills, you have some basic guidelines to foster LifeComp competencies. In the fourth session unit, let's say, you can find specific strategies to foster LifeComp competencies. So how you can thumb up, there are specific actions that are embedded all the competencies. Also, you can see the fishbowl that you can find in other strategies, learning strategies too. The gratitude journal are not all of them innovative or very new, but they are gathered here as strategies and as actions in order to develop in your own classroom or in your own participants. Either you are an educator, either trainer, either, for example, teacher. And of course, you have a lot of role playing here. So I will send you the site in order to download this. I think that, Alessandro, it doesn't matter. We don't have the time to go further, but this is the idea of having here what you heard, that it's complicated, into action, a real action with specific activities.
Yeah, for the school environment. Okay, thank you, Vanna.
It's not only for the school, Alessandro. If someone is a trainer, an adult trainer, can adapt many of them, because I already use some of them.
Good, very good. Any other question eventually for Vanna?
Well, I don't have a real question. I have a comment, so I would like to know the opinion, Vanna's opinion. So, thinking about the skills and going across skills and competence framework, also thinking about the European frameworks for competencies. In my opinion, the risk for a trainer or a teacher, in any case, a vet expert, is to get lost in this stage and too many frameworks. We have a framework for life skills, we have a framework for entrepreneurial skills, for, let's say, green skills, for digital skills at different levels, for research skills. And if we go through the different frameworks, we can see also, as naturally it has to be, very potentially strong interrelations. That, let's say, what is missing, in my opinion, now is an overview that is able to put together, to integrate all these frameworks. For example, if we have to take care about common goods, and in this case,
sorry, Elena,
common goods, environment. Now we have, let's say, we are in the social area of the life skills, as we saw together just right now. But on the other hand, according to the green skills competencies, we have also green skills.
We have also green skills.
So that's why I'm reflecting, honestly speaking, as a professional, let's say a vet expert. In this period, my reflection is often focused on how to deal with all these frameworks, how to integrate all these frameworks, and concretely translate this framework into action plans or training programs, effective, hopefully, training programs for, let's say, different targets. Because the question is to try to also to navigate between the different tools and to ground these tools, let's say, into concrete actions. This is very difficult, in my opinion, and what is a little bit missing also as a support from the European Commission. This is my personal opinion. If possible, to have, let's say, a feedback from your side according to your expertise, Vana.
Of course, thank you. I agree in many things that you said. That's why I will use my experience from a big 4 company that I used to work for 10 years. And we had then not the European Union frameworks, but we had the frameworks of the big 4 company for different clients, for different sizes, with different tools and many, many more. And I could say that if one step at the time, for example, if at the same time you try to develop tools or trainings or to understand 3 or 4 frameworks, we will get lost. If we try to understand one framework and then have a client or have a course, a concrete course that is aligned and is connected to this framework, so we have the theory and we have the practice, then we will go to the second one, because you are totally right. Many of them, all the frameworks have some common things, but you cannot see them from the very beginning. You need to go deep to understand that this is the same as, for example, this one. So if you go, that's why we need to understand first one framework, to have some project on that, to understand what is useful and what is not, because from my opinion, not everything is useful. Sometimes we have many things. For example, in order to understand the framework, we need to go deeper in the model and where it is based. Sometimes it doesn't matter where it is based. The idea is to develop the action, and by having the action and having the project and see the result, maybe it's more, more clear to your hand, to your head, in order to develop the other one framework. So try not to be specialized to everything. This is the idea of specialization, to have specialization in some things, and in soft skills that it's more confusing. I think that we can start to 1 or 2 that they seem more clear and more adaptable, and then to go to the more unique, the more difficult. For example, you mentioned the green skills. We've developed a European project about green skills. Not developed, sorry, we are at the beginning. We hope to develop such a project, but it's really difficult because they are confusing the soft skills that we already know with something else. So I can understand your confusion. One step at a time, nothing else. This is my experience.
Okay, thank you very much.
So it seems that it seems that, sorry, Emilia, it seems that becoming very specialized means starting from less being specialized, but focusing on something more specific, less, but fully involved. Emilia, you want to add something, please?
Yes, Ms. Karagianni, thank you very much for this very detailed framework of quite chaotic, I would say, subject. Especially, I have in mind the students, basically, because I'm a psychologist. I've been working for nearly 20 years with prevention, the drug prevention area, and we have been doing quite a lot of work on this level. But summarizing what you said, first of all, this thing requires each competence is a whole world. You can do billions of things in order to develop, and on a long-term basis, because if you do it on a short-term you know, if the effects are very minimal, according to my opinion. But if you are able to do it on a constant basis, then you can see, and you can measure results, you can see them. But I think the main, the thing I keep, and I keep a lot of things from your presentation, but I think the main thing was the last bit, what you said, that the life every day is an opportunity. You should see every day as a challenge, and you take it. I think this is an attitude which is not very common. This thing requires a development in order then to do the other things, because I believe people don't, especially the students, or would you believe it? I mean, the youngsters. Okay, the youngsters, of course, are influenced by their parents, but also of the general milieu. The fact that you have to take every day as a challenge, to have a growth mindset, that learning to learn, all this stuff, is a challenge in itself. So it's a question of how you move the people, because the people who have it, it's easy then to apply, doesn't matter which framework. But what do you do in a general sense of not addressing each day as a challenge, and you take the opportunity?
Of course, the frameworks and the titles, it's only for organizing ourselves, nothing else. This is my belief.
Which is very useful, though.
It is very useful. In order to have an alphabet, let's say, for all of us, a common alphabet, we say that the framework has these competencies, and the name of the competence, it's like this, and the idea of how we understand, how we are aware of, and which action it's the best in order to develop it is this. It's only to have a common language, nothing else. The idea of struggling with challenges every day, but having something as a lesson at the end of the day, I think there is the opportunity in order to develop ourselves, nothing else. 2 days ago, I had a terrible day. So I can share it, not many things, just that I had a terrible, I won't tell you the details, but I had a terrible day. And I thought with family matters, that it's more stressful and more painful. And the only thing that can give me the opportunity to overcome it is to understand that this is a lesson. So try to find the key things, the key findings of the lesson, because I was struggling for one more day in order to understand what happened. So the idea of having, that's why I put it last minute, this motto. If we understand that each day, with the bad things and the good things, it's an opportunity to learn in order to avoid some things, or to develop new things, or to understand more ourselves, I think that this is the learning journey that we all talk about. Other, they say framework of LifeComp, other, they say, I don't know, life search. Other, they call it ikigai. I don't know if you ever heard, which is Japanese. So the idea of trying to develop ourselves, of course, we do have these tools. Of course, European Union try to do the research and give us some basic frameworks in order to start. But this is only to have a common language. Everyone has his own path, or her own path.
Good. I would go towards closure, since we have already taken 1 hour and 20 minutes from our audience. I will ask Irina to share the evaluation sheet with just a couple of questions, just to have a feedback from you about this workshop and what could be ameliorated for the next time. I give everybody the appointment after the summer for a new set of infusion workshop encounters and meeting. But above all, I would like to thank very much Vanna for her experienced and also very personal sharing of this complex picture about the life competencies. Also because she has put some order in this complexity, but still leaving it to the, let's say, the complexity of life, actually. So in a way, Vanna didn't solve us any problem, but she has shown on the wall what are the skills which we can develop, which we can focus on, and which style we should have in addressing daily life issues like the one she just mentioned 2 days ago, in order to let's say, not only to survive, but really to create a better world around us, for us and for our children and for our future, respectful of the people, respectful of the society, of the community, and with the ability to be always open to learn, and with something to be achieved in front of us. So I think Vanna was able to give us this, let's say, tension towards the future and the ability to crave for something new every day through the presentation of these competences. So thank you very much, Vanna. Thank you very much for all the people who have attended this workshop. And the appointment will be shared with you on our channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, nevertheless on our website. So all of you have a good summer, have a good rest. And
thank you very much.
And we'll catch up after the summer in online again for a next set of workshops. Thank you. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, Vanna. Bye. Bye. Bye.